Starting a new unit, Unit 5, Congruent and Similar Figures. We're going to look primarily at triangles in Math 2. Starting off with Lesson 1, we're going to talk about congruency and the different theorems to prove triangles are congruent. Specifically, starting today, what we're going to work on is naming the different triangles and verifying that they're congruent, or maybe not verifying that they're congruent, but saying, hey, this side goes with this side, or this angle goes with this angle, etc., etc. Shorten it up, CPCTC, okay, is what essentially we're going to be doing today. Now, congruent means the same size. Another word that y'all may like to use here is just equal. Okay, this is true so you can have congruence for angles and side lengths. Alright, again, congruent sign, equal sign with a squiggly over the top. Two figures are congruent or the same, match. Again, mathematically though, that word is equal or congruent. Two figures are congruent if and only if, no exceptions, all, okay, of their sides and angles are the same. When you label figures as congruent, the order you label matters, okay? Again, this is called CPCTC. C stands for corresponding, P, parts of congruent, T is triangles, and then C at the end is congruent. So basically what this says is the part that goes with the other part and the other figure are the same. If they're not, then they're not congruent. Okay, so I give you this picture here and we're going to talk about it. Notice how the sides have different amounts of marks going through them. What this tells you is that they're not the same, or they shouldn't be the same. Okay, so not equal. Okay, again, different, not equal, kind of essentially means the same thing. So I wouldn't say side AB is equal to side AC. However, side AB has one mark, therefore it's equal to what side in both of these triangles? Alright, it's going to be equal to FG or GF. Alright, because it has one line going through it. It has one line going through it. Alright. Angles have different amounts of marks going through them. Okay, same deal. Angle B has 3. This one has 2. That means symbolically it's not equivalent. This one has 1. Symbolically not equivalent. This has 3. However, it's a side. Okay, sides and angles aren't going to be the same. However, so if I focus in on angles over here, E has only 1, so it's no good. G has 2, so it's no good. F is what I want because it has 3, so it matches. Okay. Again, angles and sides with the same amount of marks are congruent. Or they are corresponding. Okay, so like if 3 and 3, so when I mark angles, I like to go corresponding, or I like to go across, okay, so I don't touch. So it's the side that's not touching the angle, and that's how I'm going to mark it. Also, you may have heard me say congruent. So this is kind of like a 2-for-1 definition. So again, if this has 3 marks and this has 3 marks, then symbolically they're equal. If this has 3 marks, so if an angle and a opposite side have the same amount of markings, and that tells you they correspond with each other. Okay. In example 1, list the information you know by marks on the figure. So, in short, what angles are equivalent to each other, and what segments or what lengths are equivalent to each other. So I can say HW, segment HW, is congruent because HW has 1. Alright. What other segment or piece of line only has 1 mark through it? DX. Alright. So if I have an angle with 1 mark, angle C, so XCE is congruent. Again, I'm looking for an angle with only 1 mark through it. No marks, 1 mark, we've already listed that one. 2, 2, well, because now I see 2, 2, I'm going to skip this and I'm going to say an angle with 2 marks. So ECF is congruent to the other angle with 2 marks. And you notice how I put 2 arcs through my angle, FCG. And then again, I finish up by saying, GCW. Again, if your side segments have marks going through them, and they're the same amount going through them, then they're equivalent. Same with your angles. Alright. I'm going to skip 2, and I want to go to number 3. Okay. So in number 3, tell me the sides that are congruent. Alright. And then which angles are congruent. So I could say YX is congruent to what other side? I have YZ, right, because it has 2. It's also congruent to VW because it has 2, and it's also congruent to WU because it has 2. Angles, I have angle Z, so I'm going to look for any other angle that has 2 marks in it. Angle Y doesn't, angle X does. Again. So this is what I know. I'm not going to go more in depth than this right now. We'll see this once we go to a few more problems later on. So again, biggest thing right now I want you to see is your marks are telling you measures. So if I put a value here, say 11, this would be 11, this would be 11, this would be 11. So even though you don't see it, you can write it and know it. If I change it to 41, well then this is 41, then this is 41, and then this is 41. Okay, so it's no rules if you're not given. Put numbers. Going on to page 2. Complete each congruency statement by naming the corresponding angle or side. So, angle V. Okay. What angle does it go with over here? Now, the way I like to do this is, especially when I'm given angles, is look at how my figures are listed. So, just go with your gut here. E, F, or G. So, which of these is right? Angle E, angle F, or angle G? Which does V go with? V goes with E. Now some of you may be asking why. And I could say, oh, well, if you take this right here and you lock it, and then, you flip and rotate and spin and shift, you would get the same triangle. Sure, but that's a lot of work. Look at how your letters are organized. Okay? So V comes first. E comes first. So first angle. Okay? So V goes with E. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Again, YWX, angle YWX, so this angle is congruent to what other angle? So again, I started with Y, so I start with my third one. So I start with my third letter. W is my first letter, so I go to my first letter here. And then the only one left over is KXW. Alright, so I can say that. Really not terrible. Number 6, angle T. Again, where is angle T in my list of figures? It's in the middle. Therefore, which angle? H, I, or S goes with angle T. It's angle I. Again, for the reason I just told you. It is in the middle. Now, this one, angle Y. Where is angle Y at? It's at the end. It's at the end. So, angle Y is congruent to angle D. Angles are that simple. Alright, I love finding corresponding angles. Okay, when we go to page 3, okay, so now we're going to have to do angles with sides, etc., etc. So starting with number 8, okay, it's telling you these triangles are congruent, so it's not asking you to prove them. It's already telling you that. Alright, later on we're going to say, well, prove it. Alright, but right now we're just going to take their word for it that they are congruent. Okay, so what I like to do is just pick one. Triangle on the left, triangle on the right. Again, I'm going to start with a triangle on the left, and I don't care the order. I know the triangle on the left is the same as the triangle on the right. Now I'm going to start with U. Triangle U. And then, again, I can go right and up, or I can go up and right. It doesn't matter how I write my first one. So I'm going to go U, V, W, and I'm going to say it's congruent to. Now, when you write your second one, the entire purpose of corresponding parts is to make sure we write these in the correct order. So, U goes with what? T, S, or W? Again, does it go with T, S, or W? So T, S, or W? It is T because T only has one mark. U only has one mark. That's why these markings are so important. Now, I have two options. I can go S next, or I can go W. Where I go is 100% based on how I write my first triangle. V has two marks. So which of these, S or W, has two marks? Well, S. Alright, so that means the last one must be W. Alright, so triangle UVW is congruent to triangle TSW. If they give you markings with the angles, okay, you should never miss one of these questions, ever. So, number 9, what I want you to do is write a congruency statement for triangle ABC is congruent to triangle what? It becomes congruent to triangle. So ABC is this triangle. So A has 2 marks. What angle over here has 2 marks? B. B has 1 mark. A has 1 mark. The only thing that's left over is X. Okay. Going to number 10, this time I don't tell you anything about the angles. I only tell you some stuff about the sides. But I tell you that they're congruent. Okay? So if I don't tell you anything about side or the angles and only the sides, then we have to be able to write the triangles based on what we have. So again, the first triangle never matters the way you write it. So I'm going to say STV is congruent to triangle what? So if I know information about the sides, S to T is from 1 mark, T to V is the 0 marks, and then V all the way back to S is 2 marks. So which triangle over here on the right follows this method? So I can have TU, right, because it has 1, or I could go UT because it also has only 1. If I start with UV or TV, I don't have any, so therefore they're automatically wrong. Now, if I go with T to U, my only letter left is V, and if I start with U to T, then my only letter left still is V. Okay, but T to U was 1, U to V was 2, and then V all the way back to T would have been 0, U to T was 1, T to V was 0, and then V all the way back to U was 2. So which of these matches this over here? So which one of these goes in order from 1 mark, no marks, 2 marks? 1 marks, 0 marks, 2 marks. It's going to be triangle UTV, and that's my answer. Okay. Something I didn't touch on, if triangles share a side, okay, if triangles share a side or an angle, you can put a mark there. Alright, sides you'll draw through them. Angles I like to kind of put swooshes or arcs. So, in number 11, do these triangles touch? Yes or no? They do touch. Now, where do they touch? Do they touch at an angle, or do they touch at a side? These triangles touch at an angle, that particular angle being angle D right here. If triangles touch at one point, okay, you're going to have these angles, and they're going to be vertical angles. Now, if you notice, I put 3 arcs here because I already have 1 mark and 2 marks on my sides. So I'm just going to put 3 arcs, and then that's going to let me go 3 marks here, 3 marks here. Now, there's no rule about how many marks you got to do, but I just like to use the difference amounts that's not already been used. Go a little bit different this time. I'm going to say triangle KJD is congruent to triangle what? Again, K. Do I know anything about its angle? I don't. Okay. So I have no markings on my angle. J, I have no markings. D, I have my markings. So I need to finish at D. Over here is also the only angle that I have markings at. So because I don't have any markings on angles, I then go back and I revert to, or I use my markings on my sides. So from K to J, again, K to J, I have 3. From J to D, I have 2. And then from D to K, I have 1. So, how can I go around this triangle so that I can start with 3 marks, go to 2 marks, and finish up with 1? My only option is EF or FE. So EFD or FED. Again, E to F, so start here, go to F is 3. F to D is 2. D back to E is 1. Is this what I wanted? Yes or no? Yes, it is. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So, I don't even need to look at that because I know I found the correct one. Alright, that's it.